The fierce winds of Zephyria howled through the valley, cutting through the air as if the planet itself mourned some ancient tragedy. Dr. Jonas Ryan drew his cloak tighter around his shoulders, shielding himself from the icy blasts as he pressed forward. He had come to Zeria in search of rare medicinal herbs, said to grow only under its twin moons. Yet, as the terrain became harsher, he questioned whether the risks truly outweighed the potential rewards. Suddenly, a faint cry carried on the wind, barely audible, but unmistakably real. Jonas stopped, his heart racing with urgency. His instincts as a medic surged to life as he scanned the desolate landscape, squinting against the blinding light of starlight reflecting off frozen stones. Movement caught his eye, something faintly shimmering beneath a rocky overhang. Cautiously, he approached, shock rippling through him at the sight that awaited. An alien woman, exposed and trembling violently, her skin glowing faintly under Zia's twin moons. She curled in on herself, desperately trying to shield herself from the biting cold and the shame of her vulnerability. "Please," she gasped, her voice weak, her violet eyes filled with anguish and fear. "Help me." Jonas wasted no time. Without a second thought, he removed his outer jacket and quickly draped it over her shoulders, preserving her dignity while offering immediate warmth. Her muscles relaxed slightly beneath his gentle touch, her trembling subsiding just enough for her breathing to steady. Still, her gaze remained wary, cautious despite his evident kindness. Meeting her eyes, he spoke in a calm and reassuring tone. "You're safe now. I won't hurt you. My name is Jonas. I'm a medic. Can you tell me your name?" The alien woman hesitated, clearly assessing his sincerity, before finally speaking in a voice fragile but firm, with an underlying strength. "I am Leora." Jonas repeated the name softly, nodding in acknowledgement. "Let me get you somewhere safe and warm. Then you can tell me what happened." Leora studied him one last time, the suspicion slowly fading from her eyes as she saw the genuine compassion reflected in his gaze. With a tentative nod, she allowed him to help her to her feet, clinging to him for support as they slowly made their way toward his camp. The wind seemed to quiet around them, its howling reduced to a mere whisper, as though even the planet recognized the gravity of the fragile moment between these two strangers bound by fate. Jonas carefully guided Leora into his small camp, a temporary dome tent dimly illuminated by portable lights. Inside, warmth quickly enveloped them, offering blessed relief from Zia's brutal cold. Jonas gestured for Leora to sit on a makeshift cot, noticing how her slender form shivered beneath the borrowed jacket. He immediately turned to his medical pack, his hands moving deftly as he retrieved emergency thermal blankets and healing ointments for trauma. Kneeling before her, he gently draped the blankets over her, watching as warmth slowly returned color to her pale, iridescent skin. "I must treat your injuries," he explained softly, ensuring to maintain eye contact to reassure her. "May I?" Leora nodded slightly, her gaze still tinged with unease, but tempered with a quiet determination. "Yes, please," she murmured. "I trust you." Jonas began carefully assessing her condition, noting bruises and abrasions across her limbs, clear evidence of her abandonment and the brutal treatment she had endured. His gentle, methodical approach gradually calmed her anxiety, and as he worked, she began to speak hesitantly, her voice gaining strength as she shared fragments of her story. "I was abandoned here deliberately," she confessed quietly, pain shadowing her gaze. "My people, the Vyaran, believe defiance is unforgivable. I challenged our leaders, stood against their cruelty. They stripped me of everything, my rank, my dignity, and left me here as punishment, hoping I'd succumb to despair and the elements." Jonas paused briefly, anger rising within him at the injustice she had suffered. "That's barbaric," he murmured, his voice thick with genuine empathy. "But you survived. You're incredibly brave." Leora's eyes filled with tears, shimmering in the dim light. "Bravery is difficult when one feels utterly alone," she admitted softly, her voice trembling slightly. "Until now, I had lost all hope." Gently, Jonas took her hand, holding it with comforting firmness. "You're not alone anymore. I'll stay with you. I'll help you heal, not just physically, but in every way I can." She looked up at him, her eyes wide and searching, as though trying to understand the sincerity of his compassion. In that moment, Jonas saw something flicker in her expression, something deeper than fear, something that held the potential for a future neither of them could yet foresee. Gratitude, more than mere appreciation, something akin to hope and trust filled Jonas. The realization ignited within him a renewed sense of purpose. "Why are you helping me?" she asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Jonas took a moment, choosing his words carefully. His gaze remained steady, filled with genuine warmth. Because kindness shouldn't be dependent on who or what you are. Everyone deserves dignity, respect, and someone to stand by them when they're at their lowest. Leora stared at him for a long, silent moment, tears tracing delicate paths down her cheeks. Slowly, she squeezed his hand, accepting the comfort he offered. "Thank you, Jonas," she whispered softly, her voice filled with emotion. "I'll never forget this." As they sat quietly together in the sanctuary of the small tent, Jonas realized how profoundly his journey had changed. What began as an instinct to help Leora had deepened into something more significant. He knew their fates were now intertwined, and whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it with her by his side. Days passed within the refuge of Jonas's modest camp. Under the distant silver glow of Ziria's moons, Leora gradually regained her strength. Her presence transformed his once isolated outpost into something unexpectedly vibrant, filled with warmth and whispered conversations. Each night, sitting close by a modest fire, she shared fragments of her troubled past, piece by cautious piece. "I was once highly honored among my people," she said quietly, her voice thoughtful yet filled with pain. "A princess of Venara. But my heart rebelled against the cruelty of our traditions. My defiance cost me everything. My family, my position, and nearly my life." Jonas listened intently, his heart aching for her hidden sorrow. "You did what was right," he said gently. "You stood for those who couldn't stand for themselves." Leora smiled faintly, sadness still lingering in her eyes. "Yet I paid a heavy price, cast out, stripped of honor, dignity, even my clothes, and left to die here, alone on an alien world." She paused, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Until you found me." Jonas instinctively reached out, taking her slender fingers gently in his own. "You're safe now, Leora. I won't let them hurt you again." She studied his face closely, searching for hidden motives, but finding only sincerity. Gradually, her guarded expression softened. "No one has ever shown me kindness like this," she said, "not without expecting something in return." Jonas shook his head quietly, resolute. "Your life matters, Leora. To me, that's enough." For a long moment, silence settled between them, comfortable and peaceful, broken only by the distant hum of Zia's winds. Slowly, Leora leaned closer, resting her head gently against Jonas's shoulder. Her eyes drifted closed with a sigh of relief. The gesture filled Jonas with profound tenderness, a feeling more powerful and meaningful than he had anticipated. "I trust you, Jonas," she whispered quietly. "That's something I thought I'd never say again." He held her gently, feeling the quiet strength of their bond solidify. Despite the uncertainty surrounding them, Jonas felt a deep peace settle in his chest. He knew he had made the right choice. Their moment of peace was abruptly shattered by blinding lights, piercing through the early dawn sky. Jonas woke instantly, senses alert, adrenaline surging as the distant roar of engines reached his ears. He bolted upright, heart pounding, and quickly woke Leora, whose eyes widened with immediate understanding. "They've found us," she whispered urgently. Together, they moved quickly, extinguishing the campfire and collecting essentials. Jonas felt his pulse hammer as they slipped quietly toward the rocky cliffs, finding shelter in a hidden cave carved by centuries of wind and rain. They pressed into the shadows, listening intently as footsteps echoed loudly from nearby. Imperial soldiers from Venara soon entered the campsite, their commander barking orders sharply as the troops scanned the area. Jonas held his breath, his eyes locked on Leora, who stood rigid beside him, her body tense with barely contained defiance. Commander Veen, the ruthless enforcer of her exile, stepped forward, his voice cold and commanding. "Find her," he ordered. "She will not escape this time." Hidden just beyond their reach, Jonas gently took Leora's trembling hand in his own, feeling her pulse quicken beneath his fingers. Her eyes met his, silently conveying the fear she couldn't voice aloud. "I won't let them take you," he whispered fiercely. "We'll survive this." Leora nodded silently, trusting him completely despite her fear. Jonas's determination hardened as he noticed her distress. He had chosen to protect her, and he wouldn't fail now. For hours, they remained hidden, tension mounting as the soldiers searched relentlessly. Jonas planned silently, considering every possible option. Eventually, he sensed their pursuers' movements growing closer, knowing the time to act was approaching. Retreating for a brief moment to gather their thoughts, he seized the opportunity. Now, he urged in a hushed tone, leading Lara carefully out of the cave. Their steps were quick yet cautious as they ascended to higher ground. Lara hesitated, her fatigue evident. Jonas immediately stopped, offering her support. Her eyes met his, filled with regret. "Leave me," she whispered. "Save yourself." "That's not an option." Jonas responded firmly, tightening his grip on her hand. "We leave together, or not at all." Moved by his resolve, she nodded, her determination renewed. Together, they navigated the terrain, making their way toward an old emergency shuttle Jonas had hidden months before, their sole means of escape. After a tense dash through the shadows, they finally reached the shuttle. Jonas quickly initiated the startup sequence, the shuttle humming to life beneath his fingers. Lara watched anxiously, her gaze flickering between hope and dread. "Hold on," Jonas said, his voice calm as he engaged the thrusters. The shuttle roared into motion, lifting sharply into the sky, leaving their pursuers scrambling behind. As they broke through the atmosphere and entered the vastness of space, Lara exhaled in relief, slumping beside him. "You saved me again," she whispered, her voice trembling with gratitude. Jonas smiled warmly, gently taking her hand in his. "Always." As the stars stretched endlessly before them, their hands intertwined, Jonas felt a deep connection forming between them, stronger than fear or mere survival. It was a bond built on trust, courage, and an undeniable love neither had expected, but both had come to embrace. The stars shimmered gently through the shuttle's viewport, casting soft silver reflections across Jonas's weary face. Lara, curled quietly in the co-pilot's seat, slept soundly beside him, breathing softly as though she were finally free from the shadows of her past. Jonas felt a warmth stir within him, deeper than the sense of duty he had once known. Watching her peaceful expression, he realized he had risked everything to save her, yet never had he felt so certain about any decision. After days of careful navigation and evading patrols, Jonas piloted their shuttle toward Araris Station, a hidden refuge nestled deep within the asteroid belt at the edge of civilized space. Known as a haven for those fleeing persecution, Araris promised safety and anonymity. Jonas knew it was the safest place to hide Lara from her relentless pursuers. As they docked, Lara woke, her emerald eyes brightening as she cautiously glanced at him, trust mixed with concern. "Where are we?" "A safe haven," Jonas reassured her softly, helping her from the seat. "You'll be protected here, at least for a while." She nodded gratefully, though Jonas could see the lingering anxiety in her gaze. "You risked so much for me, Jonas. You should leave me here and save yourself. I've already cost you too much." Jonas gently took her uninjured hand, holding it reassuringly. "You haven't cost me anything, Lara. You've given my life meaning, something I've been missing for too long." Her eyes widened, glistening softly in the shuttle's low light. "How can you say that? You barely know me." "I know enough," he replied softly but firmly. "Enough to know I won't abandon you. Ever." Moved deeply, she squeezed his hand in silent gratitude, her eyes brimming with emotion. Together, they stepped from the shuttle onto Araris Station, greeted by the warm smiles of friendly faces, exiles and survivors from various worlds, all who understood pain, loss, and the courage it took to keep going. Lara's tension eased visibly as she recognized the kindness around them. Jonas smiled gently, relieved to see her finally safe, among those who welcomed her without judgment. Life on Araris Station was peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos both had endured. Jonas found a new sense of purpose, offering his medical expertise to the refugees. Meanwhile, Lara flourished under the community's gentle acceptance, slowly regaining confidence and dignity that had once been stripped away by cruelty. Despite the tranquility, Jonas noticed quiet shadows still lingered in Lara's eyes, remnants of her painful journey. One quiet evening, beneath the soft hum of station lights, he found her standing by a large viewport, her eyes lost among the stars. Approaching quietly, he stood beside her, observing her thoughtful expression. Still haunted by her past, she sighed deeply, turning to meet his gaze. "My past follows me, Jonas, no matter how far I run." Jonas gently cupped her cheek, guiding her gaze back to his. "You don't have to run anymore. You're safe here." Retreating momentarily to regroup, he seized the chance. Now, he murmured urgently, guiding Lara out of the cave with careful steps. Their movements were swift yet deliberate as they ascended to higher ground. Lara stumbled slightly, wariness evident in her posture. Jonas immediately halted, supporting her. Her gaze met his, filled with regret. "Leave me," she urged quietly. "Save yourself." "That's not an option," Jonas replied firmly, tightening his grip on her hand. "We leave together or not at all." Touched by his resolve, she nodded with renewed determination. Together, they moved forward, heading toward an old emergency shuttle Jonas had hidden months before, their only hope for escape. After a tense sprint through the shadows, they reached the shuttle. Jonas quickly initiated the startup sequence, and the shuttle hummed to life beneath his fingers. Lara watched anxiously, her eyes flickering between hope and fear. "Hold on," Jonas said calmly, engaging the thrusters. The shuttle roared to life, lifting sharply into the sky, leaving their pursuers behind. As they soared into space, the stars welcoming them, Lara exhaled in relief and sank beside him. "You saved me again," she whispered, her voice trembling with gratitude. Jonas smiled warmly, gently taking her hand in his. "Always." As the stars stretched endlessly before them, their hands intertwined, Jonas felt a bond forming between them, a bond deeper than fear or mere survival. It was built on trust, courage, and an undeniable love neither had expected, but both had come to cherish. The stars twinkled softly through the shuttle's viewport, casting silver reflections across Jonas's face. Lara, curled in the co-pilot's seat, slept peacefully beside him, breathing softly as though she were finally free from the torment of her past. Jonas felt a warmth stir within him, more profound than a sense of duty. Watching her peaceful expression, he knew he had made the right choice, even if it meant risking everything to save her. After days of evading pursuit, Jonas piloted their shuttle toward Araris Station, a hidden refuge nestled deep in the asteroid belt at the edge of known space. Araris was a haven for those fleeing persecution, offering safety and anonymity. Jonas knew it was the safest place to protect Lara from her relentless pursuers. As they docked, Lara woke, her eyes brightening with cautious trust. She glanced at him, uncertainty mixing with relief. "Where are we?" "A sanctuary," Jonas reassured her gently, helping her from the seat. "You'll be safe here, at least for a while." She nodded, though the anxiety in her eyes remained. "You've risked everything for me, Jonas. You should leave me here and save yourself. I've already cost you too much." Jonas grasped her uninjured hand, holding it firmly but reassuringly. "You haven't cost me anything, Lara. You've given my life purpose, something I've lacked for far too long." Her eyes softened, glistening in the dim light. "How can you say that? You barely know me." "I know enough," he replied quietly, his voice steady. "Enough to know I won't leave you. Ever." Moved, she squeezed his hand in silent gratitude, her eyes moist with emotion. They stepped out of the shuttle and onto Araris Station, greeted warmly by exiles and survivors who understood the pain of loss and the courage to keep going. Lara's tension eased as she recognized the genuine kindness around them. Jonas smiled softly, relieved to see her safe among those who embraced her without judgment. Life on Araris Station was peaceful, a welcome contrast to the turmoil they had faced. Jonas found new purpose, offering his medical expertise to those in need, while Lara flourished under the community's compassionate acceptance. Gradually, she regained the confidence and dignity that had been stripped away by past cruelty. Though their new life seemed tranquil, Jonas noticed the lingering shadows in Lara's eyes, reminders of her difficult past. One quiet evening, beneath the gentle hum of station lights, Jonas found Lara gazing out the viewport at the stars. He approached softly, standing beside her and observing her thoughtful expression. Still haunted by her past, she sighed, turning to face him. "My past follows me, Jonas, no matter where I go." Jonas gently cupped her cheek, guiding her gaze to meet his. "You don't have to run anymore. You're safe here." "Home," she whispered, shaking her head slightly, her voice trembling. "But am I truly safe, Jonas, or have I just brought harm to everyone around me?" "You've brought hope," he responded gently, his tone warm. "I've seen the way others look at you, Lara. You're a symbol of resistance, courage. You're the reason many still dare to believe in freedom." Lara's eyes widened, filled with emotion. "You see more in me than anyone ever has." He smiled softly, his voice tender. "It's there, Lara. You've simply forgotten how extraordinary you really are. She stepped closer, her forehead resting lightly against his chest. Only you make me believe that's possible. Jonas wrapped his arms around her, holding her with both tenderness and strength. Then let me always remind you. Lara lifted her gaze, her eyes alight with newfound resolve. Jonas, you've become everything to me. You're my strength when I have none. He gently brushed her silver hair back, his voice barely a whisper. Then stay with me, Lara, not out of obligation or gratitude, but because together we're stronger. She smiled softly, a rare brightness transforming her expression. Forever, Jonas. That's a promise. Under the watchful eyes of distant stars, they held each other close, no longer driven by mere survival, but bound by something far deeper and infinitely stronger. Weeks passed quietly aboard Aurora Station. Their refuge among the asteroids had become a true sanctuary for both Jonas and Lara. They spent their days helping refugees and growing closer. Yet despite the peace they had found, they both knew that the search for them would never end. Danger would eventually find its way to them again. One restless evening, Jonas stood before the viewport, observing the steady motion of asteroids as they slowly drifted through the void. His quiet reverie was shattered as alarms suddenly blared, bathing the corridors in crimson light. Lara rushed to his side, her face filled with anxiety. "They found us," she whispered tensely. Jonas grasped her hand firmly, his expression resolute. "We knew this might happen. We'll face it together." Rushing to the command center, they joined the frantic gathering of station defenders. Through the viewport, sleek Veyor and assault ships hovered ominously, their weapons trained directly on Aurora Station. A transmission crackled through the intercom, a cold, familiar voice filled with calculated malice. "Surrender, Lara, or everyone aboard will suffer." Lara stiffened, determination warring with guilt. "They'll kill everyone to get to me," she murmured, her eyes clouded with pain. Jonas squeezed her hand firmly, refusing to allow her to surrender. "We won't let them. You've inspired everyone here to believe in something greater than fear." With urgency, Jonas devised a daring yet necessary plan. They would evacuate the civilians, while he and Lara held the station long enough to disable the enemy ships. Lara nodded, her courage reigniting at Jonas's unwavering resolve. As civilians escaped through hidden tunnels and escape shuttles, Jonas and Lara worked swiftly, coordinating with station defenders to rig explosive charges along key docking areas. Their determined glances exchanged, their bond growing stronger with every daring act. Suddenly, a blast shook the station, sending them both crashing against the corridor wall. Smoke filled the passageway as enemy soldiers boarded. Jonas quickly drew a weapon, ready to defend Lara at all costs. A fierce firefight erupted, both sides exchanging laser fire in the darkened corridors. Jonas fought with fierce determination, his medical instincts blending seamlessly with newfound combat skills. Beside him, Lara fought bravely, her movements graceful yet deadly. At last, they detonated the charges, disabling the enemy boarding crafts and forcing the attackers into a chaotic retreat. Exhausted but victorious, they hurried toward the remaining escape shuttle, determined to leave nothing to chance. Breathless, they launched away from the station, watching solemnly as their temporary sanctuary drifted, damaged but free, with the enemy left to regroup in defeat. Jonas turned to Lara, pride and relief clear on his face. She met his gaze, her eyes shining with gratitude and affection. "You fought for me again." "I'll always fight for you," he promised, his voice steady and full of quiet certainty. "No matter how dark it gets." After narrowly escaping Aurora, Jonas piloted the shuttle into uncharted space, seeking refuge among hidden stars. Lara sat quietly beside him, still shaken but radiating a calm strength, even after the recent battle. They eventually found shelter on a small, peaceful moon surrounded by sapphire rings. The shuttle landed gently, settling beneath the glowing alien trees beneath a twilight sky. As Jonas set up camp, Lara approached softly, her hand resting on his shoulder in quiet gratitude. "You've sacrificed everything to protect me," she murmured. "Why?" Jonas faced her, his gaze gentle yet fierce. "Because protecting you is protecting everything I believe in: freedom, justice, and love." Her emerald eyes widened, shimmering with emotion. "Love?" she whispered cautiously, as though afraid to misunderstand. Jonas smiled tenderly, gently taking her hands. "Yes, Lara. You gave meaning to my life, purpose beyond mere survival. I love you, not because I saved you, but because I cherish you deeply. Lara's eyes filled with tears, and she leaned into him, her voice trembling with quiet joy. I love you too, Jonas. You've shown me compassion when I had none, strength when mine failed. You've become my home. Jonas cupped her cheek gently, smiling softly. His own eyes shone brightly with relief and happiness. Then let's never be apart again. Lara nodded gently, her voice firm and sincere. Never. In the quiet beneath the glittering alien sky, Jonas knelt before Lara, holding out a delicate crystal ring he'd crafted from the moon's sparkling minerals. Then, Lara, will you be my wife? Not from obligation or duty, but because together we're stronger, happier, and complete. Lara gasped softly, overwhelmed with quiet joy. Yes, Jonas, without hesitation. Yes, forever. He slipped the ring gently onto her finger, their bond solidified beneath the stars that seemed to glow brighter, as if blessing their union. Together, they embraced, their hearts beating in perfect unison, knowing no darkness could ever break their bond. They had faced threats together, side by side, in a distant, serene world called Oromar. Jonas and Lara stood united beneath an endless sky of gleaming stars. Oromar was a haven far beyond the reach of Vina's relentless pursuit. Its tranquil forests and softly glowing lakes provided a much-needed refuge. It was here they had chosen to fulfill the promise made under crystal skies, becoming husband and wife, not from duty, but through deep mutual devotion. Surrounded by new friends and allies they had met during their travels, a simple ceremony unfolded beneath towering silverleaf trees, their branches softly illuminated by the moonlight. Lara stood beside Jonas, adorned in flowing robes crafted by the Oron weavers, her eyes radiant with joy and gratitude. Jonas could hardly breathe as he gazed at her, his heart swelling with love and awe at how far they had come. An elder from the Oromar community stepped forward, his gentle voice resonating deeply beneath the serene night sky. In times of strife and darkness, two souls found one another, lighting a path through adversity. Jonas and Lara, your union reminds us all of the strength that love can bring, even in the face of hardship. Jonas squeezed Lara's hands gently, his voice steady despite the flood of emotions. Lara, you've brought purpose, hope, and happiness into my life. From the moment I found you alone on Zappia, you captivated my heart. I promise to always protect, honor, and cherish you. Lara's voice trembled softly as she spoke, her emerald eyes glistening with joyful tears. Jonas, you found me at my lowest, shielding me when I had nothing, believing in me when I doubted myself. I vow to stand by your side forever, sharing your burdens and joys. I have found my true home. They sealed their vows with a tender kiss beneath the shimmering stars, surrounded by smiles and soft applause from their friends. Jonas held Lara close, feeling the peaceful joy that came from knowing their struggles had finally led them to this beautiful moment. The celebrations continued late into the night, laughter and warmth filling the air as the Aurorans welcomed the new couple. But as dawn approached and the last of the guests departed, Jonas and Lara lingered, watching the sunrise spill golden hues across the tranquil valley below. I never imagined such happiness could be mine, Lara whispered, resting her head gently on Jonas's shoulder. He held her tightly, smiling softly. You deserve every bit of it. She turned to face him, her expression filled with affection and certainty. Whatever comes next, I am yours completely. And I am yours, Jonas replied tenderly, his heart full of contentment. Years passed gently on Oromar, where the life Jonas and Lara built became a beacon for those seeking refuge from oppression. Together, they founded a sanctuary dedicated to healing and protection, sharing their strength and hope with countless others. Their love, forged through trials, had only deepened, and their bond had become unbreakable and inspiring to all who encountered them. One evening, beneath Oromar's twin moons, a small familiar spacecraft landed near their sanctuary. Jonas and Lara stood calmly, immediately recognizing the insignia marking the Veneran resistance. From the vessel stepped several rebels, including a young commander named Ellerin, whose determined gaze softened upon seeing Lara. My lady, he began respectfully, bowing slightly. Your courage inspired our people. The Veneran regime has fallen. Freedom has finally come. Lara's eyes widened, tears filling them as she whispered, Freedom? Ellerin nodded solemnly, his eyes glowing with pride. Your bravery ignited a flame no tyranny could extinguish. We owe our victory to your sacrifice and strength. Overwhelmed, Lara reached for Jonas's hand, squeezing it tightly. Jonas felt his heart swell with pride as he met her gaze with warmth. Ellerin continued gently. We have come to invite you both back to Venera, not as fugitives, but as heroes. You both deserve to return home if you wish. Lara shared a thoughtful glance with Jonas, silent understanding passing between them. Turning back to Ellerin, she spoke softly but firmly. Our home is here, among those we've helped and loved, but knowing Venera is free fills us with immense joy. Jonas stepped forward, smiling warmly at the young commander. Carry our thanks and congratulations back to your people. Your fight honors us all. Ellerin bowed deeply, respect radiating from his expression. You will forever be remembered as heroes who inspired freedom. As the rebels departed, Jonas wrapped his arms gently around Lara, sensing the depth of her emotions. She leaned into his embrace, sighing with profound relief. Our journey brought us here for a reason, she whispered softly. Though my heart will always hold Venera close, my true home is where you are. Jonas smiled warmly, tilting her chin up gently. His voice resonated deeply with sincerity. And mine is forever with you. Beneath Oromar's luminous night, Jonas and Lara stood together, their love stronger and brighter than ever before. A legacy of courage, compassion, and freedom that would inspire countless generations across the stars.